Hello everyone, welcome to Abnormal Investigations. Man, them boots on the ground we've been doing are wild, are they not? I know a lot of you are loving it. Our channels are growing exceptionally fast, and I'm going to do a short here in a little bit, guys. I got a little bit of bragging to do. Um, YouTube has invited me to do something, guys, and it's because they're loving our content, so I will do that in a short so y'all will know what I'm talking about. I think y'all are going to enjoy this encounter. It's a really weird encounter, and I want to talk a little bit about the encounter at the end. It kind of brought back some memories for me, so let's get into this encounter. I was sitting on a bridge in Oklahoma. I was fishing like I had many times. The fishing was slow, and I was catching a few. I started hearing an owl in the distance. The owl sounded off, but it was close enough I didn't worry too much. As I sat there on the bridge, fishing rod in hand, I couldn't help but feel a calm wash over me. The slow trickle of the water beneath me and the occasional tug on the line were soothing. But then the owl's hooting grew louder and closer. It sounded different, not quite right. I tried to brush it off as mere paranoia. But the hairs on the back of my neck stood on end. Suddenly the owl's hooting stopped. I got a sense of peace. I was tired of listening to that old owl. I waited. My senses were a little heightened, but I was wondering, why was that owl so active? I heard something walking in the woods on the other side of the creek. I sit there listening. It was walking heavy, and then I heard the owl again. I looked up in time to see a rock coming at me, and then darkness. Everything went black. I don't know how long I was out, but when I came to, I was lying on the ground, my head throbbing in pain, blood on my shirt, down my face, and on my hand. My fishing rod was still clutched in my hand, but my tackle box was scattered all over the place. I slowly sat up, trying to remember what had happened. The rock, the owl, it all came flooding back. I looked around, but I was alone. The woods were quiet once again. I stumbled to my feet, trying to process what had just happened to me, or who or what had thrown a rock, and why did that owl keep hooting like it did? I knew I had to get out of there, and get out of there fast, because I didn't know how bad my head was injured, or if the person was still out there with me. But when I started to leave, that's when I noticed I was no longer by the creek. I was in the middle of the woods, in a bunch of dead brush and sticks. I spun around, trying to get my bearings, but everything looked unfamiliar. The trees seemed taller and closer together, casting long shadows on the ground. I stumbled forward, trying to find a path, but the underbrush was thick and resistant. I pushed through it, my heart racing, but every step felt like I was going deeper into the woods. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that unblinking eyes were trained on me from the darkness. The owl's hooting echoed in my mind, and I wondered if I'd stumbled into some kind of twisted trap. How did I get here, and how could I find my way back home? As I started walking, nothing looked familiar. I was in like a big circle of the woods that was all mashed down. It was almost dark, and then I heard it walking back. I crawled under a bunch of dead grass and wood, and I snuggled into it. I seen it. It was 30 yards away. It was spanning and looking fast, like it was mad. I was gone. But this was no dog man, and it was not a Bigfoot, Mike. This was a man that was part hoot owl. It had feathers all over it, but built like a man. It had an owl's head with every ounce of its body. It looked like a man, except for the huge eyes this creature had. I froze, holding my breath as the creature spun around, its eyes scanning the area. The feathers around its eyes were a little darker, covering its body. The rest of the feathers rustled softly in fading light, and its owl-like head swiveled back and forth with an unnerving, jerking motion. Those eyes, though, that were so huge, they were what really caught my attention. They were huge and round, with vertical pupils that seemed to pierce right through me. I felt like I could see right through the creature. His feathers were so light and fluffy. Even from 30 yards away, the creature's gaze swept over my hiding spot. For a moment, I thought it had spotted me. But then it moved on, continuing to search. I let out a silent sigh of relief, but my heart was still racing. What in the hell is this thing? How could a man and an owl be mixed? I couldn't wrap my head around it. It would be impossible for a man and an owl to be mixed. And what did it want with me? I heard it make more owl sounds, like it was using them to try to get me to move or something. I did not move. When I felt it was gone, I left, and I had no idea where I was, but I went the total opposite direction. I walked for hours, and that's when I seen the glow of our town in the clouds, as darkness had failed. I walked for hours and finally reached the highway, and then walked into the town, to my house. I told my dad, and he said when I hit my head I may have imagined it. I was taken to the ER and suffered a concussion. I couldn't shake off the feeling that the creature was still out there watching me, even as I lay in bed with a throbbing headache. The doctor's words kept echoing in my mind. Concussion, hallucination, head injury. But I knew what I saw, I knew what I felt. That thing was real, and it was still out there. I tried to convince my dad, but he just patted me on the back and told me to rest. I knew he didn't believe me, but I knew the truth, and I knew I'd never seen anything like that, and I never wanted to be in those woods again alone. My mom, she would seem to believe me. She would ask me, what did it look like, and what did it do, but my dad dismissed it. I know what I seen, but not sure what it was. Can they fly? Has anyone seen one of these damn things? Please, Mike, if any of your viewers have seen anything like that, please let me know. My mom's questions were gentle but curious. She seemed to want to understand what I had experienced. But every time I tried to describe the creature, my dad would interrupt, telling me to rest, to stop thinking about it. Like he was trying to erase the memory from my mind, but I couldn't shake it. I couldn't stop wondering. Can they fly? Do they exist? Has anyone else seen one? I felt like I was going crazy. Like I was the only one who knew the truth. I started to research to look for answers. I secured an internet source. I read books on mythology and cryptozoology, but nothing seemed to match what I saw. Nothing seemed to explain the creature's existence. I was alone in this. It seemed alone with my secret. All I know now is that whenever I hear an owl hoot, it still echoes in my mind. Every time I hear an owl's call, my heart skips a beat. I feel a shiver. I wonder, is it just an owl or is it something more, something sinister? I find myself scanning the darkness, searching for the glimpse of the feathers, a flash of eyes. I know it sounds crazy, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. That creature is still out there waiting, watching. I wasn't supposed to get away. And when I hear that owl's call, I know I'll always wonder, is it just an owl? You know, on a lot of our boots on the ground, we hear owls, and a lot of people have said it's an owl, it's not an owl. You know, it's an owl, it's not an owl. And it's got me kind of wondering now after listening to this encounter. Because I know some hoot owl sounds when I'm down there, they do sound off. Is the reason we hear these things and we don't see them, are they in the tops of the trees? Are they gliding above us like a bird, whispering down on us, but it sounds like it's coming through the trees? Are they flying above us, some of these creatures? It really made me wonder, because at my granny's house one time, they didn't have a roof on the back of it, and they had a friend over. Something looked over the back of the house. It didn't have a bottom jaw. It had really, really big eyes, they said, but it was missing a bottom jaw, but its top teeth were like human teeth that went plumb around. You could see them. But the short bottom jaw made it look as if it didn't even have a small jaw. But it had large, pointed ears on top of its head. What would that be? Thanks for listening, guys. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel. Don't be something's dinner. And we'll see you on the next one. Smash that like button.